Hello again. I'm out here today to talk about some things that we're doing to start collecting baseline metrics that will be being recorded into the platform so that we can start to take, have consistent ways of looking at, are we improving the fields or the farms that we have under management. We want to be seeing things that we can tell year by year, are we moving the needle on soil health. We're going to be looking at enterprise analysis on the financial side, but our goal as a company is we want to help operations do primarily two things. We want to help them become more profitable using soil health principles, and in doing so we want to help them build soil health along the way. And I think if we're doing those two things, there's a lot of goals that can be achieved along the way. So anyway, in order for us to even see are we moving the needle, we need to start with baseline testing. So I'm going to be out here this afternoon, and I may get a few videos of some of the things we're doing, but I thought I would just talk about a few of them. So there's a lot of different ways to a lot of soil tests out there these days, and there's getting to be more on the biologicals with doing DNA testing and looking at microbial activity. So I'll kind of touch on those things that we're gonna be considering, but just in terms of what can we be doing in the field that we don't have to send into a lab. So we're looking at kind of doing four or five I should say different field tests, starting with photosynthesis capture. Very simple test. I'm simply going to walk out and into a straight line into the field and pick a specific spot in the field where I can come back to every year, and I simply take my phone out, put it at an arm's length, look down and take a picture, take a photo of that spot to see how much green matter do we see. And we're going to do that at different points in the season. So we've been talking a lot to our agronomist on when should we do this, and the recommendation we received from him was start whenever things are sort of in that green up phase. So right about now. We'll do another one midsummer, same point, same location, and then one toward the end of the growing season. So and there could be a fourth one in there. So like we're going to do one at the end of the growing season for warm season grasses, cool season grasses, but we might do it again also for warm season grasses whenever they're reaching their end of their growing season. So there could be 3 to 4 times a year, every year at the same point. So we can see, hopefully we're seeing green matter as we improve, increase. So that's, indicating we're capturing more sunlight through photosynthesis. So, because, the end of the day, that's one of our, main goals is how do we harvest as much sunlight as possible. So that's photosynthesis capture. Next one on the list is a biomass test. So we're going to take basically a square yard measurement, take clippers, cut the top of the grass off down to the basically down to the soil level, collect that grass. We then put it in an oven to basically take out, cook out all of that moisture, and then weigh it to see how much biomass do we have available. And that can be done, we're doing it on pastures, but it can be done on cover crop fields at termination as well, if we're talking row crop fields. So that's the biomass test. Just kind of going through my notes. Our next thing we'll be looking at is biodiversity. So again, we just kind of walk in a kind of a transect, and we'll take about, at each step, about 100 steps. At each step, we'll look at the same point on our boot and look at what grasses, what species, what plant species are we seeing, and document each one of those plant species to where we can see these are the plant species we're observing. And we're going to classify those into which plant family they belong to, And we'll do that, like I said, get about 100 recordings to give us a pretty consistent read on that. And again, something we would do annually. And also, while we are doing that transect, we'll also be looking at what insects are we seeing above ground, with particular interest in, do we see any dung beetle activity as we see fresh cow patties? So that's something we're really trying to improve on. And then, in addition to looking at what's above ground, we'll do a handful of digs with a shovel to see, do we have any earthworm activity, and do we see any other types of, invertebrates that, could be beneficial to the soil. So, and then in addition to looking at plants and insects, we'll also be trying to just keep an eye on what birds and reptiles, other sorts of things do we see. And those are harder things to capture, so we're just going to do kind of the best we can. So obviously it gets to be pretty important to be able to know how to identify a lot of these things. I don't have that background, so I'll be doing the best I can. I'll probably be using an application to help me identify some things, but that is one of the things that we need to get better at is knowing how to identify these things. So moving on, so those are some of the first few that we'll be looking at, and then lastly, one of the last field tests we'll do is a water infiltration test. Taking a 6-inch ring, pounding it in the ground 3 inches. We take 16 ounces of water, pour that over the ring. It might take a few minutes for that to soak in, and then upon pouring the second, and that basically that simulates that 16 ounces of water poured into that 6-inch ring simulates a 1-inch rainfall event. And so we'll be measuring how long does it take for that 2nd inch of rain to infiltrate. So that's what I'll be capturing with that. And so those are just a lot of the field tests that we're doing. They don't cost really anything beyond your time. So those are things that we're going to be doing on probably every field that's managed, somewhat nuanced to like I'm on a field right now that was traditionally managed in a hay meadow. So we sort of have 3 fields on this little operation. We have a former hay meadow, stand of tame grass pasture, and then the front 20, it was something that was historically farmed in a corn soybean rotation. So we'll probably do 3 different sets of field tests just to kind of see where we're at, gauge where we're at. So beyond the field test, the other thing that we're offering in the trial program to our trial customers is we're going out and we're pulling the Haney test, the PFLA test, and then the total nutrient digestion, so which needs to be done just one time on the total nutrient digestion. So we'll do 6-inch probes. You can do 12-inch probes, but I'll talk more about that side of it later on. But and then we'll be sending those into the labs to kind of see what those results look like. And again, doing those on an annual basis, same time every year, is really kind of the critical piece of that. So some others that we'll be considering down the road that we're not necessarily using as baseline tests, but things that we do want to consider when needed are, we've looked at Rise Bio to look at, the Rise score to, and some other sorts of biological tests that can help us get a deeper look at what's happening, with our microbial activity. And again, that's going to be used more to guide things along, or what sorts of inoculants should we be considering, compost, extracts, biologicals, those sorts of things. So we're not really to that stage on our farm yet, so we're not necessarily worried about doing those things yet. A few others that might come to mind are a Brix test. So we actually have a refractometer on its way, supposed to be here tomorrow, so I might do a short video on how to use basically take a Brix test. That's just basically getting a good measure of photosynthetic rate, and that can vary throughout the day, obviously. And the last one, and again, this is really as needed as the sap analysis to look at, really that's whenever you've sort of exhausted all of your other means of soil testing to get really a fine-tuned look at what sort of nutrient deficiencies do you have. So that might be on a field that you just struggled to get to be productive. So that's a look at the tests we'll be doing, and so we'll stay tuned for more as we continue to go down this journey.